Hello. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming to this small talk about how Odoo Studio has supported a data migration to a custom software. So normally what we speak, when we speak about data migration, it's normally from one it's the legacy system to the other legacy system. It's quite direct. But in this case, I'm going to explain to you a new situation and a new use case for Odoo. If you have questions, please think about scanning the code. I will be happy to answer the questions afterwards. Okay, thank you. So let's put a little bit everything in the context where we started. I was working for a Swiss medical company, and the company had an old system that was more than 20 years old. And they wanted to have a new system. Unfortunately, we were not able to say to the company, okay, let's go with Odoo. We tried, but it was a little bit too late when we came with Odoo, so we couldn't do them to come to Odoo, but they choose to develop their own solution. Okay. So in this company, because we are dealing with medical informations, we had a high number of master data, and we have two types of master data. We have the master data that we call normally master data. So this is something that is changing quite often, and we have also what I say called selection data. It's all kind of selections that you have to do when you do some consulting, medical consulting. So just to give you a short view about the high number of master data that we have or selection data that we have. So you see it's quite a high number, and I have not written all of them here. But before I continue in my presentation, let me present who I am. My name is Eva Pinter, and I have created the company YBO Services. And I'm a mechanical engineer from Polytechnicum in Zurich. And I have more than 20 years of experience in ERP installations, a few Odoo installations, and a lot of SAP installations. And my company has the objective to raise efficiency in SME. So I'm changing from corporate to small and medium companies. So we also support people related to master data management, especially because I'm from Switzerland, and in Switzerland, price of labor is very high. And for this reason, whenever you have something to do with data management, you have to find new solutions. And I have people in Africa, in Cameroon, my homeland, where we support the companies with that. So, what were the challenges of data migration? Basically, when we speak about data migration, we have this very standard preparation when we say we extract, we map, we just cleanse, and then etc., etc. But the real challenge in data migration is really the cleansing and transformation. And what happens very often, the technical side is quite easy. But what is very difficult is the amount of cleansing. And you have to have people who go over data that have accumulated for more than 20 years. So it's really a huge work. And in this company, most of the employees were doctors. And you cannot just put doctors for hours doing this kind of work. I mean, especially Swiss doctors. So it's quite expensive. And the other point is that, during the project, in the project evolution of the custom solution, we had changes, in the data. So we had changes in the structure. So you cannot really have doctors and tell them, instead of taking your time to take care of the people, you have to take care of the system. So I said to them, okay, let's look at the situation. We know that you have a lack of people, okay? The second thing is you have a high number of data that you have to cleanse. And the third thing is you also have the need for medical personnel, so highly professional. And then I went to my team in Africa and I said, okay, do we have doctors that would be much cheaper to support us in the job? And effectively, we could find doctors that were much cheaper. We had an agreement with the company. The people need to have a good salary. We didn't want to exploit the people. It was a very important point for the company. So we paid really good prices to them to do the work. So of course, for African doctors, it's also not a job that is a highly qualified job, but at least it gives some kind of work to a good price. So what was the solution we proposed? We said, okay, we're going to have external data typists with a background of medical background, and we're going to we're going to extract everything, send them via Excel and mail, and then the people are going to start working on that. Did it work? I would say when we started, we had loads of issues. The issue of Excel, I'm not going to go in the detail about the Excel issues because most of you know what type of issues we have in Excel. You know, we have really problems of large files that Excel suddenly doesn't work, and the people in Africa, they didn't have the fastest computer, so of course they were crashing all the time with the large data files, and we had to separate the files so that multiple people can work on that, and such problems we had. Plus, because we were sending Excel files back and forth, we also had the risk of viruses. Okay, and then we had something that we were not really expected, but we had a lot of management issues. So the management issues were the identification of what has been done and what has not been done. Because everybody received an Excel file with maybe 10,000 entries, records on it, and we never know when are you finished, when are you not finished. We had like issues where people worked twice on the same file. We had issues where somebody forgot to save the Excel file, and therefore, you know, all the work was lost. And for me as a project manager, I had really an issue because every week I was reporting to the management, and they were asking, okay, where are you with the data? And I was like, oh, I'm not sure because he sent me this file, I have to check, etc. So it was really uncomfortable for them and for me. So I was thinking there must be a better way. And I thought about it and I said, yes, there is a better way. So what are my requirements? So I want my requirements where basically I need to know who is working, when the people are working, and what they have done. And I also need to be aware of the changes that have been done. Because sometimes you tell the people, okay, don't change this field. If you have not blocked the field, they will change it, of course. So I really needed to know who is changing what. And what happened also is that I really need to make sure that everybody works on its own record and not on somebody else's record. Because at the beginning we had this problem. People were not working on their own assigned record, but they were working doing anything. So I had this list of requirements, and I thought about it and I said, okay, let's do it with Odoo Studio. And it took me like 1 or 2 hours to make the first version. Of course, it was not the definite version, and you're going to see it's not something extraordinary, the first thing that we did, but I'm going to show you just how it can look like, and this is something that we can get inspired with. Why Odoo Studio? Odoo Studio, I chose it because I can very quickly create an interface. And because Odoo is throughout always the same, they have the same way of working, the same type of views. Everything is the same. So when somebody knows how to use one part of Odoo, he knows how to use the other part of Odoo. The other point was user management. And at that time in the company, the Swiss company, we had a very old version of Excel, so there was no way of, following the changes from one person to the other. It was really complicated. We couldn't just share the Excel files. But then in Odoo, it just took me like a few seconds to invite 10 people if I needed 10 people. The other thing was the statistics. I'm not even speaking about complex statistics. I'm just speaking about, okay, what is done, what is not done, etc. And of course, we had to import the data. So in Odoo, we were able to import data, and really huge number of data. We had like, for some of the data, we had like 60,000 records that we were importing. It was quite easy to import once you know how to do this. But okay, we could import the data and export the data via Excel or CSV files, so it was quite comfortable. But least but not last, the chatter. The people do not really realize that how powerful the chatter of Odoo is. The chatter allows you first to know who is online, who is not online. And you may think, why do I care? I care because I had doctors that we paid specific prices because they were doctors. But they were having subcontractors that were not doctors. So the subcontractors would not know nothing about the questions we had, and we had to figure out, okay, is the person online or not online? So with Odoo, when the person connects, the person is online. So if the person tells me, if I can chat to the person and say, okay, what are you working on, or asking questions, it was very easy for me to figure out who is online and who is not online. So it was really something important. The second point is that in the chatter, we were able in the chatter to follow all the changes. I'm going to show you this in a minute with an example. And the point is we were able to follow who has done what. Okay? So I show you the most important elements for us. It was the statuses. Why the statuses? Because in Odoo Studio, you don't have to program anything to have the statuses. When you select the creation of the app, the system proposes you, do you want statuses? You say yes. And then you can flexibly assign the statuses you need, you want. For instance, in some data, the customer asked that he wants to have 2 checks, you know? So we had 4 statuses, like new, treated, first check, second check. So, and in most of the others, we just have the three statuses. It was new, as you can see, new, treated, and checked, corrected. The second thing was mass changes. Like for some of the data, like the partner master data, we had on the partner master data that we were importing, we had some criteria to identify the hospitals and things like that. And we wanted to have a special information related to the hospital in all the data. And with the mass changes or mass maintenance, we could select everything and then do the change at once. And the other point is the filter. And really, if you know how to use the filter in Odoo, you're going to have an extremely powerful tool. And I have seen the demonstration yesterday. It's even better than it used to be. But with the filter, we were able to filter by any kind of criteria. And it was extremely useful for us to do the follow-up. So what happened with the cleansing process? The cleansing process changed because we were, of course, exporting, etc., etc. But then we were treating the records, we were sending the statuses, and if the status was, if we check the data, it was not correct, we could send this back, the status, and over the chatter, we were able to say to the user, okay, you have to redo this, the status, we send it back to new. So let me just show you a little bit. I will try to connect to the system. I hope it's going to be working. So I'm not allowed to show you real data because it's a medical company, and I'm really not allowed to show any real data, so I'm just going to show you something very, very simple, but it was extremely useful for us. I have prepared this product that I call initial product name. So what we had to do is the people had to check that this product was in a database called CAS database. It's an American chemical database, and sometimes the person who had created the name was incorrectly done. For instance, the name was in German, it had to be in English. And then we had to check online what is the name, and we had to go to the link, etc., things like that. So really, it's not something you're going to give to a doctor to do because it's too expensive. So we had the initial product name, and then we asked the people to write the new product name. And they had to go into the database and search for the CAS number, it's called this way. They also had to have the link, and sometimes they wanted to have a comment. This was a special field, the comment, to know whether it was a single product or it was a group of products. But the interesting part was here. We choose to have a responsible person for every product, so we could give the product to some people. At the beginning, this was the thing we did, but because some people were working very hard, and every person was paid based on the number of data they were working on. So at the beginning, we did like this. We said, okay, you are going to be working on this, but in the end, we noticed that it's better not to push somebody to work on this, but so the people would pull a record, put their name here. They would pull their name, all the users, they will pull their name here, and they will start working on it. And here, on that side, you see, this is the chatter, and you see all the changes that have been done. So you see that, for instance, I created it, and it was created. You see here, I say it's in French, it's half French and half English and half German. So because I just, oh. You don't see, I need to ask, excuse me? I want to show another, do you know what I need to do? I want to show another screen and it's not coming. Yes, I wanted to share, but it's. I think it was a PowerPoint issue. Yes, I think so. So yes, sorry for I was not. I was looking here. I did not realize that I was not there. So also just come back. So you have the data, and what it was the most important thing for us. We were able to see all the changes on the system on every single data. And this is like, I just want you to give this as a tip for you if you work and you really want to follow the changes. It's really important to set up this in the system when you know Odoo Studio. I want to see the changes. The other point that I want to show you, excuse me, it's a little bit strange with this presentation. Okay. The other point that I want to show you are a few tips that are really important if you do such things, because it's really important to know what has been changed, who changed it. And here, I'm just showing you in Odoo Studio what is really important, because sometimes we had quite some time to figure out that we need to enable ordered tracking, especially also because we were working in French and the translation in French or in German doesn't make any sense. So this field is not translated properly, so we had to search for it. But just really important, and then you can also choose in which sequence the changes are coming. The other thing that was also very important was the mass changes. If you look in the list view, you will notice that if you just click on a report on the record in the list view, the system is just opening the record that you have selected. In order to be able to change in the list view, you really have to say, enable mass editing. And we also had to search for quite some time. So I thought I give this as a goodie at the end for my presentation. So in conclusion, we had very short training effort for the team. And if you have already done some data migration and data cleansing, this is the point. You have to train the people to use Excel. Sometimes they're not so good in Excel, but there it was really easy for them to do the changes. The next point, it was very easy to have internal and external communication. And the most important point is, because we are using Odoo Online, we didn't need to have the people in the internal network. And this seems like a small thing, but it is a huge thing, because we are speaking for a medical institution. They don't want to have any foreign people in their network. With this system, we have the system hosted on Odoo Online. Nobody was going into the network, but still we were able to get the data. The next point was the quality insurance. It was very easy to figure out, is it okay? And one of the issues we had, like, we didn't know how much was done, etc. We could see this very easily. We could all the time follow what was happening. And I think that with Odoo Studio, we are opening new horizons. I think Odoo Studio is not just, Odoo is not just an ERP, but with Odoo Studio, we really have the possibility to create new application and totally new use cases. And in our case, we use now Odoo Studio, Odoo and Odoo Studio, like as a master data portal. So it means that we have now one single point of truth, and this is Odoo. Last but not least, after this, after saying what we could do very quickly, easily in Odoo, the customer regretted we could not do this, the whole project with Odoo, but he's considering to use Odoo for all the support activities next to the master data. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Mrs. Pinters, for your amazing presentation. I have some questions from the audience. The first one is, how did you manage data security during the project, especially as it relates to PHI and PII?
I'm sorry, I don't know what is PHI and PII.
PHI, PII, I don't know what it is.
Okay, yeah. Okay, the point was that we didn't export any patient data. So this was no export of patient data. Nevertheless, what was important is that the way they were working and organized was, of course, with all the master data. And this master data is really the kernel of what the company is doing. And so we really were separating the things so no external people could have access to them.
Okay, the next question would be, which version and edition of Odoo was used for this project?
Version 16.
Did you consider using an ATL tool like Talent or to pre-cleanse the data automatically?
It was not really possible to cleanse the data automatically, and most of it would have required to have developers to do that. So everything that was to be developed, we said we didn't want. And it was really cheaper to have people working on this.
In the data management.
Yeah.
Was everything shown achieved through Odoo Studio without code customizations?
Excuse me?
It was everything that was shown achieved using Odoo Studio.
Yes.
No customizations.
Yes. It was just Odoo Studio.
Okay.
So it was very cheap for the customer because we didn't have to pay for licenses. Sorry, Odoo.
Was everything shown? I'm sorry. How long did the project take once you transitioned to using Odoo?
So the transition to use Odoo was just for the master data. So the project was just running in parallel to the master data cleansing.
And how many data typers did you employ in Cameroon for this project?
We had around 10 people working for us.
Okay. And the last question, what was the customer's main reason not for using Odoo originally?
The reason was really like a time issue.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be very honest, time issue. Because they didn't want to have, we needed to have a company who speaks German. We needed to have a company who lives in who is based in Switzerland, and no data was allowed because of this. What we were speaking about, the protection of the information, medical information. We couldn't have people from outside having access, outside of Switzerland having access to the system. So even people from Germany were not allowed to have access to the system.
Great. Well, that was our last question. Thank you very much for
Thank you
for information and for the presentation.